right, welcome to another episode of Daily Dose of Schwab, Klaus Schwab. So each day, I'm spending 5 or 10 minutes, sometimes maybe a little bit longer, talking about Klaus Schwab and more specifically about some of his books. For example, today we're going to be talking about designer beings. So that was called Shift 22 in Klaus Schwab's book, The Industrial Revolution. So these are shifts that they are looking forward to in 2025. That was their guess as to when this was going to happen. So let's talk about designer being. What does that mean and all this kind of stuff? So again, I'm not going to make it into a crazy long video, but I think it's important to discuss these topics and share my thoughts about them because I am a Christian and I always want to approach these things from a biblical perspective. So if you like this kind of thing, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a rocket surgeon or anything like that. Just a Christian, loves to read a lot, loves reading his Bible. And then I like talking about important subjects, especially when it comes to the potential annihilation of mankind. I think it's important to have these conversations, and being that my channel is called Black Swan Revelations, we could very well be in a Black Swan event and we may not know it. And again, one of the traits of being in a Black Swan event is you don't know it until you're out of it. And then when you're on the other side of it, whoever survives usually looks back and goes, dang it, we should have saw it coming. All right, so let's talk about designer beings. What does that mean? Well, we're talking about human sequencing, human genomes, like sequencing technology, genome sequencing technology. See, I told you I'm not a scientist. Basically, almost like gene splicing. So they use a technique that's called, nowadays anyway, that's called CRISPR-Cas9. Basically, it's almost like I use Adobe Premiere Pro to edit footage. So let's just say, for example, I have a long video clip and I'm like, you know what? Some of this stuff I'm just all this kind of stuff. So I'm just gonna get rid of that and make it look like I am a flawless speaker without any coughing or anything whatsoever. I'm just gonna cut all that extra stuff out. That's what a good editor does. Maybe I might zoom in a little bit on the camera, cut away, add some B-roll, all this kind of stuff. I don't do that on many of my videos because I'm a little bit lazy when it comes to that. I just like to just talk. How about that? So the point is, when you use the CRISPR-Cas9 method, it's almost like you can actually cut out parts of someone's DNA and then repair it or replace it with something else. And that's what these guys are up to. There was I like to say it was like 2014, 2015, but there was a moratorium on editing on human embryos. And then like a month later or whatever, some Chinese guy came up with a complete a paper on a complete human genome. Like he just went through the whole thing and was able to edit the whole works from beginning to end, even though there was a moratorium on this idea of doing all this kind of stuff, gene editing, especially when it comes to embryos. And this is what they're talking about right now. Like I'm a little bit above my pay grade here when it comes to talking about all this stuff, but I want you to know that this was in his book. They're pretty excited about this. They're excited about genome editing technology. They're excited. They jump up and down about this stuff because they like the idea. And this is where it gets a little bit science fiction-y, but they like the idea of being able to, say you broke your arm or got your arm amputated or whatever. They like the idea of being able to splice your arm back on. That makes sense, like if you have an arm, you'd like your arm to be attached back to your body. But they don't stop there. They're not stopping at using robotic arms or anything like that. We're talking about replacing your arms with animal parts. That's what these guys are doing. They're experimenting with mice, trying to see if they could create a human eye inside a mouse so that the mice can see a little bit differently. All kinds of stuff. Like they're messing with stuff. They're growing ears on mice, like human ears on their back. Like if you do a deep dive on this stuff, which I kind of stopped doing a deep dive because it was so disgusting and it was so disturbing. It was like I was watching Frankenstein over and over again. This is what these people that are involved with the World Economic Forum are getting excited about. They like the idea of basically mutilating humans at the expense of whether that's the poor, the middle class, whatever. Even the rich can get caught up in this. So this is something that we need to talk about. Like I would just say, like we shouldn't even be messing with this stuff because this comes right out of Genesis. This is what happened. This is one of the main reasons why the flood happened, was you had humans mixing with angelic beings. You can call them aliens, whatever you want, basically gene splicing and creating a new type of being. And this is where we got giants and all kinds of stuff. And I don't care if you think this is fiction, science fiction, whatever. This is what happened. This is what caused the flood. Man was doing his own thing, splicing animals, mixing them with people. All kinds of stuff was going on. It was crazy. And only Noah found favor in God's eyes. And so 8 people went aboard the ark and they were saved because I believe that his gene pool was not corrupt. To me, that's the main reason why the earth was flooded. And God promised later with a rainbow that he wouldn't destroy the earth again with a flood. And shortly after the flood, some of the people were kind of panicking about the idea of another worldwide flood. So they created a tower called the Tower of Babel that was extremely high. That's what they wanted. They wanted to reach the heaven. Why? Because they didn't want to get flooded again. They were all on the same page. Who knows if in the building that they're creating, if that was their huge database of information, of language, all this kind of stuff of how to build things, how to gene splice, who knows what it was in that building, but God confounded their language so that they couldn't continue on with their project, whatever it was. And now we have the UN building that looks like the unfinished Tower of Babel. They're trying to become one again, one language. It's just fascinating. It just comes full circle. So I'm saying don't mess with that stuff. Leave it alone. Like I understand that we're trying to live longer, hundreds of years, thousands of years. It all comes back to the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve. Eve looking onto that tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and the devil says to her, did God really say, don't mess with this tree? And Eve's like, well, he said you can do this or that, but don't touch and all this. And it's like Satan is already questioning Eve on what she knows, on what God said to her. And if she doubts it, he can walk right in there. And this is what we're facing right now, not only with the World Economic Forum, but a lot of these guys, a lot of these scientists are just running full steam ahead in the realm of unknown unknowns. We don't know what the consequences are, how big they are, how catastrophic they're going to be. We have no idea what we're messing with, but it's very dangerous. And this is all in the 4th Industrial Revolution. This is what Klaus Schwab talks about. This is why this guy stays awake at night. This is why he can't sleep. He's excited about this stuff. So that's it for this episode. I know it went a little bit long, but let me know your thoughts. Are you going to read the book? If you aren't going to read the book, then subscribe to this channel, because I will share more thoughts on his book. And also I'll share some thoughts on stakeholder capitalism as well, because I want you to get a daily dose of Klaus Schwab so that you know exactly what this guy is up to. Anyways, thanks again for listening to me and watching this YouTube channel, and don't forget to subscribe. Feel free to comment. Keep the comments respectable, keep them clean, all this kind of stuff, but always appreciate your feedback as well. And I'll see you in another video. Bye for now.